Hello, I'd like to introduce to you now Matt and Hannah Arnstein, who have just bought an old 3-bedroomed house which they're going to refurbish, and we're going to have a discussion about how the master plan is going to be able to help them. So good morning and thank you very much for taking part today.
Hi,
it's
thanks.
great. I'm going to basically just run us through the ideas. So first of all, I'd like to ask you a question, and that is simply, have you made any lists of what you really need and your wish lists as such?
Well, for me, I really like cooking, so
Right.
the kitchen is a really important area for me, you know, and the house that we bought actually has quite a small kitchen.
Okay.
So we were potentially looking at options maybe to extend, or
Yeah.
if there was an option maybe to make it open plan living with a sort of a dining
Yes.
kitchen area as well, because we really like that way that the open plan flow allows you to live in a property.
Fantastic. No, I think that's really important, and it's very much a sign of the times. If you can make a list of all the sort of really important things that you need within that space, and then make a second list almost of all the things you would love to have. And there's also another list that I'd really like you to do, and it's called your concept. It's really the beginning of how you decide what style you want, your own personal style in that property. You need to think logically, what can I feasibly do with the funds? I mean, you just bought a new house. So
Yeah, and actually a lot of our money went into the purchase of the property,
house,
so
yes.
we are on quite a budget now in terms of what we actually have to enable us to do the work, and if there's anything
Yeah.
more complex like an extension, for example, we do have quite a budget there.
no, that's fair enough. And again, we're going to be showing you, Design Help will actually show you how you can break down a project into stages. But to a certain extent, you need to have an overall plan. So then you can say, okay, well, we're going to do this much so far, and then actually we're going to only do this much for the first year, and then perhaps we'll go for the extension the second year. So we'll just make do with the kitchen first, and then we'll go for planning, which will take a little time.
Okay.
And it might be you need some engineers' reports to say, you know, how much structural alterations may be needed.
Yeah.
Living in a property before you start work, it's a really good idea because the sun goes in or it moves around the property, and it'll give you a better feeling for the property.
That's great.
So now we're going to talk about concept development, and if you look at the concept video, that will explain precisely how you're actually going to be able to produce your concept, because from concept we develop that into a real design. We can then start going shopping with something that's exciting because you know the sort of colours that you're working with. And also I want to consider existing limitations. You may have pieces of artwork, or I don't know, things that you've got to retain.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff that we've picked up on our travels that we'd like to keep in the house.
Okay.
So big pictures and sort
Fantastic.
of artwork that we picked up.
We
Yeah.
love to travel, so we've got some stuff from holidays that we've got as
That's
souvenirs.
lovely, because that really personalises your design. The design actually, and exist things like your pictures, I'd like you to measure them. I'd like you to colour match them so you know what colours are in those pictures.
Okay.
Because again, when you go shopping and when you start looking at things, you start relating everything and bringing it and pulling it all together. Measurements are good as well, and I have a scrapbook, so whenever I'm actually doing something like that, I actually have my scrapbook, which is basically pictures of things that I know I've got to keep, and I also keep the measurements with it. The colour you see online is not the colour the sample is going to arrive at.
Okay.
And it's going to look different in your lighting compared to the lighting in a showroom or somewhere else. We then need to look at the space and planning the space, and making sure that actually you can fit everything in. Hopefully you can get something like a plan together, put this out here, that just gives you, you know, a really simple outline. This doesn't need to be complicated. This needs to be just a very basic plan, but it has to be to scale. The other thing is lighting and where you're putting in your lights, because pictures, for instance, look so much better if they're lit from above.
That's interesting. It's something I'd never considered, because I always think about the colours and the fabrics and that kind of thing. I hadn't really thought and considered about the lighting and the impact that that might have as well.
Thank you. Yes, it's a very underestimated part actually, but lighting can make or break a scheme. And once you've got your plan, you can then actually decide where your sockets are going, where your lights are going in the ceiling, what sort of table lights you're going to be using, where you're going to switch it from, that sort of thing.
Perfect.
Collect all as much documentation, as many samples as you can get. That will really help you.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Okay, fantastic. You need to decide, as I said, about the kitchens or anything that you're specifically going to buy, because some of them are on very long lead times. If you are specifying the tiles, whether you are going to be buying them or the builder's going to be buying them.
Okay.
What happens is the builders, I hate to say it, they undo everything and then they throw the wrapping away saying, well, we know how to install the tiles, we don't need to be told. The problem is it could affect the guarantee on the product.
Right.
So if you don't use the right product, then actually the tile company could say, well, I'm sorry, they've fallen off the walls because you didn't do as we suggested.
Okay.
If there are things that you are going to perhaps do yourself, for instance, you might start to do the decorating to save on some of the costs,
Yeah.
which is a good way of doing it. You do not have to go down this route of spend to get the very best thing. You simply need to know a few of the tricks. The contract, it saves you, but it also saves the builder. And there are very simple contracts. The RIBA do a home owner's contract, which is in simple, plain English. It isn't
that's
that
useful.
thick.
Right,
It's
yeah.
a simple contract. And I would never work with a builder without one.
Brilliant.
It makes the payment terms straightforward.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
It's the scope of works now built into a schedule of works. And a schedule is actually line by line, remove existing wall, insert steel. So it's really a
Really detailed.
real detail, because that way you get your final pricing. You've got to have a very good programme of works so that the kitchen company is coming in straight after the builders,
Right.
because the builders will put in first fix. The thing that really holds things up is when deliveries don't come in on time.
Right.
So again, if you have ordered the bathroom fittings or ordered the kitchen or ordered special windows, if you've placed the orders, that you're responsible for making sure that they get there. So progress chasing is a massive part of the programme. Now, most main contractors are great at this and they can do it, but be aware, if you're on a budget, that there is going to be it's going to be a higher price for you.
Okay.
Builders today at the moment, they're busy.
Yeah.
The good ones are busy. If there is one question people ask me most, that's the number one.
Yeah.
It's how do I find the right person to do the job for me?
Yeah.
And I say just look for the busiest builder and
Yeah,
put
makes
yourself
sense.
down on his waiting list, because they are the people that are going to deliver your project on time, to budget, and to the quality that you want. And those are the three parameters of managing a project.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's quite important.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss with your builder your project, how it's going to be done. I think communication is not very well done in the building industry. People don't ask the right questions because they don't know what questions to ask in the first place.
Yeah.
And I'm hopefully here to give you that advice. As for things like sofas and soft furnishings and anything that I think you probably will have ordered yourself, there's a couple of things to remember, and that is you will have booked dates for installation based on the programme
Yeah.
of works that you put together, and by the time the builder's saying, I will have finished by, because then you think, I can have my new sofa here. If it's slipped back, you need to let those people, the soft furnishings people, know as soon as possible.
Okay.
And that could be carpets, it could be sofas, it could be anything really. It could be the delivery of a chandelier or something like that. Because they'll keep things for a while, but after that they may start charging you storage.
Right. Yeah.
And as much as I'd love to say, go out shopping and look at lots of colours and ideas, I have to be honest, this, as you can see now, there's so much more that we have to go through in order to get to that final stage of actually even being able to begin to start building and perhaps segmenting it into sections. So, I mean, by all means, get your list together, get things, your ideas going, get your wish lists and your needs lists, and particularly get your concept ideas together. And then move into making sure that what you're doing is feasible and that actually your budget will allow it, and that bits that you're going to do and bits that the builders are going to do, and where you call in expert engineers, that sort of thing, is actually completed as the pre-design part. Because then you can move into the design part and actually start the real nice bit, which is definitely doing things like planning the space, looking at how you're going to lay out the furniture, also looking at what parts are going to be your extension and the bits that the builders will be doing for you. Most definitely looking at your kitchens and finding out how you can actually make a kitchen work for you without spending an absolute fortune. And all through this, collecting information and guarantees and making sure that you understand what the technical implications are. And that also includes the contracts, and making sure that really, you know, everything is written down, that it's detailed, that you have a scope of works, you have a schedule of works, that you actually also have a contract that specifies when you're paying people and things don't get out of hand. That if you have slippages and time problems, that everybody understands those time problems. That also that you are very aware of making sure that they give you the right information, like guarantees and information on how things work, so that you know how to get living in your beautiful new home. So it's really a fabulous process if you understand it, and I don't want you to go through some of the horror stories that you do hear, and that's simply because people don't understand that there's a massive process that has to happen before you actually get building and you get ordering those beautiful soft furnishings. So with lots of luck, and I hope that you have a fantastic time doing this, because I will be there helping you as much as I can with the design help videos. I think, you know, you're going to have a great 3-bedroom house to live in and live stylishly in.
Thank you so much, Debbie. This has been an amazing process for us, and you've brought up so many things that we hadn't even considered or thought about before. So we're really excited to get started now.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing it. Fantastic, thank you.